Hey mamas, I'm Brooke Miller, registered dietitian, certified lactation counselor, and a mama who has helped hundreds of moms feel like themselves again after baby, boost their energy, mood, metabolism, and even milk supply. Inside of the Postpartum Shift podcast, you'll learn how to take care of your health so that you can show up best for the ones you care about most. Each week, we'll tackle topics like nutrition, exercise, breastfeeding, mental health, and so much more. Plus, you'll get access to guest experts who will share ways to make your pregnancy and postpartum experience easier. Whether you're approaching the postpartum period or you're right in the thick of it, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's topic.
Hi friends, this is Shanna of Wellness for the Win, and I'm with my friend Brooke Miller, who is a fellow dietitian and also a blogger and a fellow medical mama. And today we're going to talk about basically that, being medical moms and how we try to take care of ourselves in this season of life that is ongoing and ever changing. And we were just talking about, how sometimes we're in seasons of survival versus thriving. And, I feel like right now we're sort of in opposite season.
Yes.
You're feeling a little bit like survival. I kind of feel like at the moment, knock on wood, everything is fairly stable, which is nice because, it does ebb and flow when you're in this journey. But we've talked several times, many times over the past couple of years since I, unexpectedly entered the life of being a medical mom. And Brooke has been so helpful to me and just kind of talking me through different seasons and giving me advice and tips and solidarity more than anything. And so, we were just chatting too about how wellness, obviously we're both really passionate about wellness for moms, but we feel like especially, drawn to the community of medical moms because wellness is even more important, arguably for those of us who, are caregivers for our child. It's so easy to give 100% of yourself to your child who needs so much from you. But then, of course, we all know the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, but like, it's so true. You can only do that for so long before you feel so burnt out. So we're excited to give you some tips today on how we take care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, all of the things. So Brooke, do you want to start us off from there?
Yeah. And I think, obviously some people might be listening to this from my podcast or from yours. And I think it would be really helpful to just share like what our kiddos have for diagnoses, because I think so many moms can relate and connect to us. And so I have a 6-year-old who has Down syndrome, autism, and ADHD. So we, knew during pregnancy that he would be born with Down syndrome and we'd need open heart surgery. So we had some preparation during pregnancy, but then, the autism diagnosis and ADHD kind of came right out of left field around 3 years old. And that has been, challenging to say the least to navigate. And I know that your situation is also different, but even though we have different diagnoses, we have very similar and also different struggles, being a medical mama. Like there's just so many different like surgeries and procedures and you have G-tube right now. Like we only had that in the NICU, and then we had oxygen, and just so many different like medical equipment and devices and like things, different struggles that we've gone through. But if you want to share a little bit too about Levi for my listeners.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mr. Levi, my sweet boy, he will be 2 in May, which is wild. And like you said, our situations are different because we did not expect it. It was a healthy, normal pregnancy, had a birth injury, and he had, some complications from that. So he has a long list of diagnoses as a result of that brain injury. And like you said, that's led to our G-tube and significant disabilities. So, in contrast to Ashton, your son, who is very active, Levi is not very mobile at all. He has to work really, really hard to even hold his head up. So, we do have different struggles in that regard, and we spend a lot of our time in therapies and things like that. But yeah, so it's just kind of a goal of ours to get him more mobile. Whereas I'm sure at times you wish your son was a little less mobile. It's like, it's funny just how, things show up differently and we have different struggles. And I think for both of us though, it just gives you so much perspective, especially because we both do have typical kiddos as well. And so you kind of see the contrast between, the pros and cons of both. Obviously, we love all of our children so much regardless. But there's, some things that are easier about Levi than my older son, Rhett. When Rhett is being a crazy, defiant toddler, I'm like, man, I'm so glad Levi's just a little sweet angel
Yep.
who just loves me and smiles at me and snuggles
Yep.
and doesn't talk back. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure. Just learning, like you said, all the meds, all the equipment, all of the different things. Like right now I'm in my office, which you can kind of tell has been taken over by Levi's equipment, feeds, pull socks, suction machine, a tomato chair, stander, gate trainer, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's so interesting just to like, it is hard. I know I think I've told you before to read the book, The Gap and the Gain. Have you read that yet?
Yes, you told me to, and it's on my list still. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it's so helpful. I think for any parent really can relate to it, but especially I think parents of medical moms, because the whole book talks about this premise. And actually, I just taught my members this about wellness. So you can literally take the book and apply it to your health and wellness journey, to being a parent. But the premise of the book is, a lot of us focus on the gap instead of the gain. And so, we have like where we want to be, we have where we are now, and we have where we started. And so many of us, we focus on where we are and where we want to be, and that gap. So same with our kids.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, other kids his age should be at this point. And so a lot of times it's easy for us to fixate on like, they should be here, we should be there. And instead, we want to compare our kid against our kid, not against their sibling. And same with our health journey of like, oh, I have 20 more pounds to lose or whatever, and saying like, yeah, but I've lost 10 pounds, or I have more energy or whatever. Like I feel better physically. And comparing yourself to yourself. And so I just like love that book. I think every person should totally read it. But yeah, I think being a mom, and our experience is also different because Ashton was my first. And so, my first experience into motherhood was like, all of a sudden we're in a NICU, we're having open heart surgery, we're on oxygen. And it's like, I had no, pumping full time. I had no comprehension of like what a normal quote unquote postpartum period would be like. And now it's very interesting because my 2-year-old is now surpassing Ashton, who's 6. So like my 2-year-old is talking. My 2-year-old is, able to like help around the house and put stuff away. And like, he's like well surpassed Ashton with everything. And so that's also something like that I've been grieving recently, is like seeing now, like I'm going to see my baby who's 8 months, like at some point soon, probably in the next 2 years, start surpassing him as well. And so it's just like, it's an ongoing journey, like mentally and also physically. And, I wanted to record this episode and chat about this because I think every single mom, whether you have neurotypical kids or not, struggles to take care of themselves in some sort of capacity, whether it's your mental health, physical health, when we become a mom, because there's other people that we are now responsible for. Like when life, when it was just us, it was so easy to take care of ourselves. And a lot of us still weren't doing the best, job with that. And you and I understand that we just have even more of a challenge when we have a medically complex child, and how much more important it is for especially medically, medical mamas, special needs mamas. Like it's actually so much more important even for us to really prioritize our mental and physical health, because we just have a higher risk of burnout. Like we do. We have a higher risk of burnout and postpartum depression and all of these other things. And so, I just think this is like such an important topic for us to share about. And so we're just going to candidly share some things that have really helped us over the years take care of our mental and physical health. Do you want to share one first?
Sure. I feel like, gosh, there's been a lot of things. Therapy. I will, shout out therapy. I feel like first and foremost, which I'm trying to think, I feel like I started it fairly early in Levi's life and then took a break from it for a while because of like hospital stays and just like, I was like, it's just one more thing. And like you said, it's extra important for us as medical moms to take care of ourselves. However, it's extra hard too, because you have so much on your plate and you're constantly, whether you're in a season of like being in the hospital a lot or having appointments and therapies and all the things. I mean, it just like feels like it's constant and it's like, okay, every appointment for myself is just one more thing. And it's like, that just falls to the back burner a lot of the time. But I had several people in my life who were very adamant about me like taking care of myself, especially my mental health. And so I feel like a lot of people did everything that they could to make it possible for me to get away for therapy. Cause I will say too, like early in Levi's life, I was doing virtual therapy, which was fine. And I still think it's a great option for people who, you know, really truly cannot get away, because I know, you know, having a commute to and from therapy feels like, again, a lot.
Yep.
However, the commute to and from therapy feels like therapy in itself.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know, just having
Silence.
a solo drive where you can like listen to a podcast
Yeah.
or listen to the music you want to, you know, even that is like life-giving. But I will say, you know, once I started therapy back up again later in his life, going physically in person for the first time to see a therapist was, I feel like, a game changer for me. You know, we were able to do EMDR, which I feel like is probably a little bit more effective in person. And just like I feel like you're better able to unplug and kind of like block out the noise, and like literally the noise, because when I was first doing virtual therapy, Levi was here with a nurse. I could hear him crying in the background. And I'm like, okay, this is not very therapeutic, you know? So yeah, I will say therapy is huge. And then something I wanted to say before it left my brain, because that's how my brain works, is yesterday I was literally thinking, you know, I was doing a workout at home, which that's another thing on my list that I want to share is like exercise is so huge. I know you're really passionate about that too. Just moving your body. I mean, obviously we all know like exercise is good for you, blah, blah, blah. But truly, like the endorphins from exercise are so life-changing, and it's extra important for us to physically be able to care for our children. Like Levi is almost 3 feet tall. I'm 5'2". So he's already over half my height, and he's only getting heavier and bigger because of his muscle tone. He feels like dead weight. And I have to like literally physically stay strong enough to be able to care for him. You know, I like hesitate to even share this because I, you know, was reeling over it the other day, but I lost my footing on like the second to last step, carrying him down the stairs the other day. And like, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I am at the point where I can no longer hold anything besides him. You know, I was juggling my phone, juggling a big ass Stanley, and him, and thank God he's fine. And we were both okay, but obviously it scared the shit out of me. Sorry. Hopefully you're okay with cursing on your podcast.
You're good.
But it scared me, and it was like kind of a wake up call. Like, okay, he's only getting bigger. I have to continue to like, you know, that was just a stupid thing. Like, I think we all have lost our footing on this last step before, but obviously when you're holding your child, it's a bigger deal. Again, he was fine. We were fine, but it was just like a scary moment. So, and then yesterday when I was exercising at home, I just kind of had this mindset of, you know, I kind of feel guilty because my husband works full time and he's in the office. However, like my job as his caregiver is valid too. And like, I'm also working hard. And I feel like exercise is almost like part of my job because it's essential for me to care for him, you know? So I think that's such a mindset shift. Like if for moms who are struggling to like work exercise into your routine, like just think of it as part of your job. Like you have to do it. You have to care for yourself physically and mentally. And that's what exercise can do for you. And I think too, something that got in my way for a long time was like, I felt really guilty exercising when I was just alone with Levi. And I was like, you know what? He's chilling in his tomato chair. I'll give him some toys. Like he's fine and content. Like I'm doing this for myself. He's right there with me. Like for 30 minutes, no big deal. Like I get what I need. He's fine. And then we move on with our day. So I think that too is just like letting go of the guilt and knowing that like it's essential. You need to do it. So just do it.
Totally. Actually, I had the similar incident happen like 2 weeks ago. I was carrying Morgan's car seat and I was carrying Ashton in my hand. It was like the second to last stair. I tripped. Ashton fell. Morgan fell. Like, thank goodness she was in her carrier. So like, I mean, she was like, what happened? But you know, he like bonked his head and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't carry both of you at the same time. And I'm strong and I lift weights. And like, it's still that reminder of, and even though Ashton is mobile, the amount of times throughout the day, like he can't buckle his car seat. So it's like, I'm lifting him in the car, lifting him into the chair, lifting him, you know, onto the potty and like all of those things. And, you know, like our in-law, like our grandparents physically, like we're at the point where grandparents are not physically able to take care of him. So we need somebody young.
That's my fear too for the future.
Like we're already there. Like we're already there. And so I totally get that. And that's been my biggest driver for exercise as well, is like well, I need to be able to like lift him and pick him up and carry him. And like if we're going for a walk, like he's either in the stroller or like I'm carrying him at some point because he doesn't have much endurance. Like he can walk for a little bit and then he just sits on the ground and doesn't want to move and is dead weight. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
And something else with exercise, like obviously you and I are huge believers of strength training. We love the Expecting and Empowered app. Both of us do. Something else that was just a complete game changer for my mental health was walking outside. Like all 3 of my maternity leaves, that has been a priority. Now, it's finally like getting nice out again here. So that's something that we naturally work into our day. But luckily in Colorado, we have like pretty mild winters for the most part.
Yeah.
But that's something that it's like every day at lunchtime, middle of the day, like it doesn't matter what's going on. That is just part of the routine. It's like eating and then going for a walk outside. And I just remember, I've always been like a big proponent of walking, but when I was pregnant with Ashton and we were like finding out about his diagnosis and his heart surgery and all the things, like I would literally go for a walk with my dog and I would just go around the block crying. Like, I mean, I'm talking like I would literally like just walk for an hour and sob and listen to like worship music and pray and like all the things. Yeah. And for me, it was like so therapeutic to just go outside and get the vitamin D, get the fresh air. Yeah. Obviously exercising in a gym is great, but I think that there is something so important about getting the vitamin D and getting fresh air outside as well. So like anything that you can do outside. And then something else that really helped me with my mental health, especially with Ashton and his diagnosis, was like that was probably the most I had ever like leaned into God and my faith, and the most I was going to church. And we're still consistent, like we go every Sunday for the most part unless we're out of town or the kids are really sick. But I think that really, really helped just get through, because there's a lot of questions when that happens. Like, why me? Why did this happen? What's the purpose of this? There's a lot of doubt and fear and what is my future going to look like? And I think, having a strong faith can really, really propel you and like get you through that, and having that community. And during that time I was volunteering a lot in my church, and I was working in the nursery and when I was pregnant with him. And so every time I would get bad news about like, oh, the heart surgery, oh, he's not growing, oh, you're going to go into early labor, like all these things, every time we got like a bad report from an ultrasound, I had like my church family to lean on and pray with me. Yeah. And, it was really powerful. And so I'm not saying everybody here who's not a Christian, like you need to all of a sudden become a Christian, but I do think, having some sort of faith that you can lean into is really, really important, because it can be a really dark place of questioning things if you don't have anywhere to turn for that.
I totally agree. Yeah. I will say, I'm definitely not consistent with it, but throughout Levi's life, I've gone through different stages of, like you said, all the questions, and you're like, is God even real? You get angry at God. You question, you're like, why? Like exactly like you said, why me? Why is this our story? Why is this my reality? And I have absolutely tried to lean on God and tried to pray more. And it's like, even if you're not necessarily going to church every Sunday, you could absolutely still believe and have that community. And it goes back to just community in general. I feel like just having people to lean on, and that higher power that you believe in to, just faith, honestly, to kind of get you through. Cause even if you don't know what the future looks like, just like believing that something is, carrying you through is huge. So totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you've been wanting to reach your healthiest weight and feel like yourself again postpartum without having to sacrifice your favorite foods or your milk supply, I've got a free workshop just for you. Inside of this free workshop, you'll discover how to boost energy, mood, metabolism, and even protect your milk supply. You'll learn common mistakes that moms make that actually cause exhaustion, mood swings, low milk supply, and weight loss resistance to become worse, things that moms don't even realize. And you'll learn the proven 3-step method to heal your hormones and metabolism after baby, so you can go from surviving to thriving postpartum. Plus, as a free gift, you'll get my postpartum snack guide when you come hang out with us. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes to save your seat today. Spots are limited. See you there.
And something else that's really helped me, just with my physical health, I would say, is breakfast. Like, since having all of my kids, that is the one meal a day that is so consistent. And I truly feel like when you set yourself up with a well-balanced breakfast in the morning, it just really sets up like your mood and your energy, because there are those days where like, you know, you have to be at a children's across the city and you don't get your usual breakfast in, and you're like hanging on a thread and you're like, oh my gosh, those are the days where you realize how important it is. But for me, you know, ever since giving birth and being a mom, I mean, for years, this went, you know, this was really consistent for me before kids, but just having like a high protein breakfast, like getting enough fuel first thing in the morning before coffee. Like, I'm a huge coffee girl, but you know, it's almost 11 a.m. right now, and I am drinking my first iced coffee for the day. Like, I am like, get your water in, get your good breakfast in, and then you can have some coffee right after. And, you know, coffee for me too, I feel like has been an emotional support beverage. Like,
I could not agree more.
like, that was on my list.
Not agree more.
Literally, I was like, iced coffee has gotten me through. I know a lot of people.
It sure has.
I know a lot of moms like lean on wine, and I love a good glass of wine when I'm out to eat. And I love, especially in the summer when it's nice out and we're outside and on a patio, I love a good glass of wine. But hear me out. Iced coffee.
Coffee is it.
Has gotten me through so many aspects of life. It is something that I look forward to.
Agreed.
And I don't know about you, but I purposely plan to have my iced coffee during the day when I can enjoy it. I know some moms like try to like get their coffee and get out the door and like do all the things. No. Like, not me. I wait until my kids are at school and napping for me to like fully enjoy my coffee in peace.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I always, like you said, I always preach to have a good amount of water before you have coffee. And I also try to always eat breakfast before I have coffee. I never drink coffee before like 9 a.m.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I'm always like doing other things. And then like it also gives you something to look forward to. So
sure does.
That's something to remember.
Yes.
Especially if you are like someone who has really early risers. Like I know, you know, it's counterintuitive because you're like, okay, well, my kids woke up at 5, so I need coffee because I'm tired. But like, again, make yourself wait a little bit, and then you have something to look forward to, and then you'll be so glad you did.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, there's so much research saying that if you have coffee and caffeine on an empty stomach, like really early in the morning, it can actually spike your cortisol levels and your stress hormone. And so as moms, like medical moms, we tend to have more stress and anxiety than the usual mom. Yeah. And so like, let's keep our cortisol levels low.
Let's do ourselves a favor.
Because
wherever we can.
Yeah, exactly. The coffee on an empty stomach is not it. It's not it. Yeah. It's not going to make you feel good.
No, I agree. Definitely an emotional support beverage for sure.
Yeah. What else have you found?
Oh my gosh. What's another one? So one that was on my list I was just going to say this one is obvious, but accepting help. Because it's easier said than done, because I think, especially like early in Levi's life, I think I was so determined to do it all myself. Yeah. And like, you know, especially even as a first-time mom with Rhett, like a totally typical healthy kid, I wanted to do it all myself. Yeah. And I feel like I could as a first-time mom with a healthy, you know, typical kid. It was fairly easy for me to do that. Of course, you know, there were times even then that I felt burnt out, but now I almost like know that I have no choice but to accept help. And so I've totally like leaned into it over time. Right. You know, because of Levi's G-tube and, you know, all of his medical needs, we qualify for nursing. And so we just now like have consistent nursing. We've had, you know, nursing on and off and just less frequent over the past year and a half or so. Yeah. But in the last month or two, we have nursing 3 days a week, which is like absolutely life-changing, because then I have time to like have appointments for myself, work on my own business, my blog, my Instagram, my podcast, all that kind of stuff, you know, doing stuff that like makes me feel like me. Like I just took a freaking full level 3 shower this morning. I did my makeup. Yes. I'm like, oh my gosh, obviously a nurse is with Levi right now. So it's just like having help and accepting help and just like leaning into it and not feeling guilty for it is huge. You know, I definitely still have moments where I struggle and I'm like, gosh, I feel bad asking for help. Like if we don't have a nurse and I need my parents for something, like they're so happy to help. So just like, you know, knowing that people want to help you, they want to be there for you. A lot of times they don't know how. So it's like, if you just like ask for help and then accept it, can change your life.
100%. Yeah. And I actually was telling you off air right before this, but we're like finally getting a respite care person to start coming in and helping with Ashton. Especially when I'm traveling for work, because this year I'll be traveling more for work than I have. And you know, my husband, like leaving him with 3 kids, especially with Ashton, it's a lot. And so we even discussed like, hey, even if the respite care person can just come in and take care of Ashton while he's managing Morgan and Sawyer, I mean, it's not really giving him a full break, but it's still very helpful for him because especially 3 kids, it's just chaos. Like you're already outnumbered and then having, you know, having one with special needs, it's like, okay, it's a lot. And something that we started doing, I think it was after we had Sawyer. So I really regret not starting this sooner, but we made it a priority in our marriage to get regular date nights in. And so after we had Sawyer, we aimed to have 2 date nights a month, and we're actually pretty good about it. So we have like a regular babysitter who comes, and then we just found another girl who's a teacher. She's going to watch the kids a little bit this summer during daytime hours when I'm traveling. And so we've just kind of made that a priority. And there's even this amazing program that's local here, and they provide respite care for families who have a child with special needs. And so it's like once every other month, but it's still a date night, and it's at, you know, our kids' school. And so we can just drop them off and go get dinner or whatever. So nice. And then, you know, have a few hours to ourselves so that we can just chill, go to dinner, go to a movie, you know? And so I think, asking for help. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, well, we don't have the finances or whatever. There are other ways to get, you know, help with your children, like for a date night. And maybe that might be a swap. Maybe that's like, hey, you have 2 kids, we have 2 kids. How about once a month we'll take your kids for a few hours, we'll take them to the park or whatever, or you can drop them off here so you guys can go have dinner and a movie, and then we'll do that vice versa. Like, and I don't know. Yeah, it's so important for a marriage, especially to get that alone time together. Like you just got back from a trip, which that's like goals. I don't think my husband and I are
next level.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think we're gonna get a trip in this year together, but that's our goal for next year is to like even just get a weekend trip together, or even a night. You know, we could definitely make like a night work. So that's something on our list this year is like, let's just go
even
get a
like
hotel.
a little staycation or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's just so important.
Good for you guys for prioritizing that, because we are not great about date nights. Because again, it's like you feel that guilt of, you know, oh, we've had my parents already do this and that, and you know, there's only so many people we feel comfortable leaving with Levi, obviously, and so it definitely is harder. But I do think we need to just like plan ahead for it, and it's like if everyone has it on their calendar, they have time to prepare for it and know that it's just like that's what's happening. And I've said this on my podcast probably too many times, but I think too, just like also doing like a lunch date here and there, like that would be easier because Rhett's at daycare. If Levi has a nurse with him, like I could totally meet Ethan for lunch on a work day or whatever. And like even that like time together, just the 2 of us would be better than nothing. Totally. So I think we do need to prioritize that a little bit more. Another thing, like you just mentioned, we just went on a vacation, which was amazing. There were 6 of us, 3 couples. And I mean, that's the first vacation we've been on without kids since Rhett was like 5 months old or something. So it's been forever. Obviously the first time we've ever left Levi. So that was absolutely life-giving. And that was another thing I wanted to mention as far as just like ways to take care of yourself as a medical mom is maintaining friendships. I feel like having girlfriends in my life has been so huge, and like it can be hard, especially just in motherhood in general. I feel like to maintain friendships, like it takes a lot more effort because people are busy. Everyone is juggling kids and daycare and, you know, as they get older, activities and all the different things. But it's like maintaining friendships can just make such a huge difference, I feel like, in your mental well-being. And it's interesting too, because I have, you know, I would say majority of my friends are not medical moms. Several of my closest friends aren't even moms in general. And it's like you can still have such strong relationships with people who don't necessarily completely understand your day-to-day, but just like having people who love you and support you and want to be there for you and are willing to listen and just like have fun with. I just feel like that's been so impactful for me over the past couple of years. And, you know, just like hanging on to really good relationships and not letting those slide is so important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we've really leaned into, you know, we actually luckily live in Denver and there's a huge Down syndrome support community here. So we haven't really we haven't been part of the autism community at all. And I feel like partly because we've been so ingrained in like the Down syndrome community for so long, and we have so much support there. And I think it's like 10% of boys, especially with Down syndrome, have autism as well. So we do have some other dual diagnosers. But I think we've made some really close friends and friendships just from that. And so if your child does have a diagnosis and there's either an online community or an in-person community, you know, try to meet some other parents who have those diagnoses, because it's made such a difference. You know, we have a couple that lives in our, you know, city, which is wild. It's a crazy story. Actually, they're like a family friend of my husband's back from Wisconsin, and they have a mutual friend, and they're like, oh, our baby is going to be born with Down syndrome. Don't you guys know or you guys, you know, have a kid with Down syndrome? And then it happens, we live 10 minutes apart. Like, what are the actual odds, you know? So
yeah, that's crazy.
So we met because of a mutual friend in Wisconsin. But yeah, just having support from people who, you know, have a similar diagnosis is so helpful, because they can understand you on just a level that other friends don't. And also it's so important, like you said, to have other friendships that don't, because again, some of my most supportive friends, I mean, you know, Alyssa, but like she was so crucial for me. Like when we got the diagnosis and we were going through it, like she came over and cried with me and brought me food and like all the things. And she was such a good friend throughout that whole situation. And it's like, she doesn't have a child with special needs or anything, but she still was there for me. And so I do think that there's so many good friendships. But yeah, it's funny that we're dietitians and we like rarely talked about nutrition. We talked so much about the mental health, but it's true. And I think something that's really important for moms to understand is our mental health and our physical health. It's all so intertwined and they all matter. So if you're like, but I'm just here to like get some tips on, you know, losing weight or whatever. It's like, no, like we need to take care of our mental and physical health, and all of our hormones and metabolism, like they all are intertwined and they all connect together. And if you're stressed out and anxious and burnt out and not taking care of yourself, like I'm sorry, but like
skipping meals.
Yeah. Like you're not, you're skipping meals. And I think that's probably one of the biggest struggles that my moms come to me with in the program is they're postpartum and they're not actually intentionally. I would say most of the moms who come in my program are not they're not intentionally under eating. They come in and they're like, I am so busy. I am so overwhelmed. I don't know how to take care of a newborn. I don't know how to feed myself. And so it's very unintentional, but they are just not fueling their body well. And so nutrition is absolutely so important. And also, if we are completely ignoring our mental health, like whatever we do in the kitchen is not going to be that helpful if we are completely like, you know,
absolutely
just suffering.
I feel like mental health has to come first in order to take those steps to take care of your physical health. You have to mentally be in the right place. So it's definitely a journey. So I would say, you know, if you're mentally struggling really badly, you know, see what you can do to get there. But like you said, they do also overlap. It's like you will feel better when you're moving your body. You're going to feel better when you're fueling your body better. You're going to feel better when you're drinking enough water and getting enough sleep. And it's funny. I was just like working on a post about this, but it's like, it's truly the boring stuff that moves the needle when it comes to your health and feeling better. It's not freaking mouth tape. It's not like collagen. It's not all the like trendy supplements and things like that. It's like those can definitely like enhance if you feel like you're like already there and you need just like a little bit of a boost or something extra. But like don't forget about the boring foundational like basic things that can really make you feel your best.
Exactly.
Because I think in this like trendy wellness culture that we live in, it's very easy to like overlook the easy stuff, you know, quote easy. It's not easy to implement, but easy in comparison to all the crazy trends.
I know it's so hard. People just like want a quick fix, and I get it. I'm impatient. I would love a quick fix for everything, but it's so true. It's like the things that you can do consistently for your mental and physical health. Those are the things that we want to add in, the things that you can continue for the next 5, 10, 20 years, because the truth is like, we don't know how long our kids are going to be with us. They may be with us forever. And so this isn't like a short term. I think a lot of times we look at our health as like the short term journey, and it kind of drives me insane especially when women are like, oh, well, I got to get in shape for this wedding. And then after the wedding, who cares? Or like, I just got to do this for this vacation. And then, you know, once I wear the swimsuit, then who cares? It's like, especially for us, like our kids might be with us for the rest of our lives, which means, you know, I want to at 70 be able to lift Ashton and be able to take care of him. I don't want him at, you know, when I'm 70, I don't want him to be like, oh my gosh, my mom can't even help me, or she's in a nursing home. Like,
Right.
you know, and so I think we especially are pretty good about like looking at the long-term vision. And I think really all moms should be looking at that, you know, that long-term picture of like, what kind of grandma do you want to be for your kids, and what kind of mom do you want to be for your kids? What kind of example do you want to set to your kids is really important for all your kids, whether, you know, you have a child with medical needs or not.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yes, I hope this is helpful for people, because I actually get this question a lot from people who, you know, fellow medical moms who are maybe like really early in the journey and asking, like, you know, it's funny because I remember being in the trenches of like those early months and feeling like I'm never going to get back to an exercise routine. I'm never going to feel like myself again. I'm never going to like feel joy again. You know, I had all of those thoughts and beliefs, and you know, it's obviously hard work, like everything we've talked about today. It's taken work, it's taken therapy, it's taken, you know, accepting help, all the different things to kind of get me to this better place physically and mentally. But it is very possible. And just like also reminding yourself, like, it doesn't have to be done in a day. Like, you don't have to like snap your fingers and like all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do all these things. Like, start with like maybe the lowest hanging fruit, and, you know, accomplish one thing and then build on it over time. 100%. Like, it doesn't have to be like a really quick fix, or like you said, or something that happens overnight, but just like building those habits over time is huge.
Absolutely. And yeah, like look at what season of life you're in and like what's going to be the easiest. So right now it's like gorgeous weather. So for me, going for a walk is something that feels easy and enjoyable and light and easy to go do. Whereas, you know, if it's 5 degrees out, that's not going to be something on the list that I'm going to want. So like, look at your current situation, like look at what's going on outside, what's going on with your household and your schedule and your sleep, and like, and then decide, what's the lowest hanging fruit for you in this season. And that might be different in 6 months from now. Yeah. And that's totally fine. But pick one thing, build that habit. Once it's built, then you can add on to it.
Absolutely. And it's easier to like get back to those things after you are in a rough season when you have established the habit already. Like, for example, when we were in the season of like being in the hospital a lot, people were bringing us meals or sending us like DoorDash gift cards, and like obviously we weren't eating the best we've ever eaten, but that was like low priority at the time. It was like, you know what, we're just eating to survive right now.
Yep.
And our nutrition's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Like, what else can I focus on that I do have more control over during this time? And for me, that was like going on long walks during hospital stays. Can I like go out and walk the little trail that's outside?
Yep.
You know, so it's just, you know, do what you can when you can, and just know that it doesn't have to be perfect.
100%. Yeah. Well, we are cheering for you guys. And if you are a medical mama, make sure that you're following both of us and send us a DM letting us know what takeaway you're going to implement from this episode.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening.
All right. See you later. Exercise is crucial for our overall mental and physical health, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. Something that has helped me stay really consistent with strength training and yoga at home during nap time is the Expecting and Empowered workout app. I love that I can choose how many weeks pregnant or postpartum I am, and the app tells me exactly what to do. Plus, there's cardio, yoga, and strength training options for new moms and moms to be. You can go ahead and click the link in the show notes to get 7 days free and also save 15% off the annual option when you use promo code Nutrition for Mamas. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to the Postpartum Shift podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with a mom friend and leave a written review. This helps the podcast reach and help even more moms. Come say hi over on Instagram at Nutrition for Mamas.